Have you ever felt that surge of determination, vowing this time will be different? This time, the new habit, the gym, the writing, the meditation will finally stick. You start strong, full of resolve, charting your progress, feeling the initial momentum. It feels like you've finally cracked the code, ready to build a better version of yourself, one disciplined step at a time. But then life happens. A busy week, a moment of fatigue, a simple deviation from the plan. Suddenly, that powerful momentum vanishes. The carefully constructed routine crumbles and the guilt sets in. Why is it so hard? Why does willpower feel like a muscle that constantly gets exhausted? You're left wondering if lasting change is even possible for you. You might think the answer lies in more discipline, stricter schedules, or finding that one magical hack. We search for complex systems and apps, believing the solution must be complicated. We blame ourselves for lacking grit, for not pushing hard enough through the discomfort. What if the real obstacle isn't a lack of force, but a misunderstanding of how habits truly form? What if there was a simpler, more profound way? A perspective whispered down through centuries, offering not a quick fix, but a fundamental shift in understanding. This insight comes from a mind that deeply pondered human nature, virtue, and the path to a flourishing life, the philosopher Aristotle. He saw something essential about habits that we often overlook. The title promises a secret formula, and perhaps the secret isn't an equation, but a rediscovery of this ancient wisdom. It's about looking beyond the surface-level struggle with willpower and understanding the deeper mechanism at play. Aristotle's perspective offers a key not to force habits, but to cultivate them naturally, making them truly unstoppable because they become part of who you are. Forget the idea of habits as tasks you must perform through sheer force of will. Aristotle invites us to see habits differently, as expressions of our character. He didn't focus on just doing good things, but on becoming a good person. And how do we become a certain type of person? Through consistent action. Consider this foundational idea. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, according to this view, is not an act, but a habit. It's not about a single heroic effort, but the steady rhythm of small, intentional actions accumulating over time. This shifts the focus from the exhausting push of willpower to the deliberate shaping of our nature. Think of learning a musical instrument. You don't become a musician by merely wanting to play or by practicing intensely for one day. You become a musician by picking up the instrument day after day, practicing scales, fumbling through chords, until playing becomes second nature. Your identity shifts through the repetition of the action itself. This is the first part of the formula. Action precedes identity. You don't wait until you feel like a disciplined person to act with discipline. You act with discipline, however small the action, and slowly you become a disciplined person. The action itself molds the character. It's an outward-in process, not inward-out. So the struggle you feel isn't necessarily a sign of weakness. It might simply be the friction between your current character and the new action you're trying to introduce. Aristotle's wisdom suggests leaning into the action, however imperfectly, trusting that the doing will eventually reshape the being. Don't fight yourself. Gently guide yourself through action. This leads us to the critical element, consistency. Aristotle emphasized that virtues like skills are acquired by practice and habituation. It's not the intensity of the action on any single day that matters most, but the unwavering regularity of the practice. Think of water dripping onto stone, gentle, yet persistent. It eventually leaves its mark. Why is consistency so powerful? Because each repetition strengthens the neural pathway associated with the action. It's like forging a path through a dense forest. The first few times require effort, hacking through undergrowth. But with each pass, the path becomes clearer, wider, easier to travel. Eventually, it becomes the default route. This means aiming for small, easily repeatable actions is often more effective than grand, unsustainable gestures. Starting a habit of reading one page a day is more likely to stick than vowing to read an entire book each week, only to fail and give up. The secret formula values frequency over initial magnitude. Build the rhythm first. When you focus on consistency, you shift the goal from achieving a massive outcome immediately to simply showing up. The victory isn't running the marathon tomorrow, it's putting on your running shoes today. This lowers the barrier to action and makes the process less intimidating, allowing the habit to take root more gently. Each time you perform the small, consistent action, you cast a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Didn't feel like meditating but sat for 1 minute anyway. That's a vote for being a calm person. Wrote just one sentence when you planned a paragraph. That's a vote for being a writer. These votes accumulate. This perspective reframes setbacks. Missing a day doesn't erase all the previous votes. It's just one data point. The Aristotelian approach encourages acknowledging it without judgment and simply resuming the action the next day. The focus remains on the long-term pattern of behavior, not on unattainable perfection. Consistency builds resilience. Think about the power of compound interest in finance. Small, regular contributions grow significantly over time. Habits work similarly. Each small, consistent action is an investment in your future self. The results might not be visible overnight, but the cumulative effect can be transformative. Patience is part of the process. So, the second part of our Aristotelian formula is recognizing the profound power of simple repetition. It's not glamorous, but it's the engine of transformation. Action repeated consistently doesn't just build a habit, it sculpts the character, making the desired behavior feel increasingly natural and aligned with who you are becoming. Now let's address the feeling of forcing it. Initially, new habits often feel unnatural, requiring conscious effort, willpower. We push against inertia, against old patterns. This is normal, but Aristotle's framework suggests the goal isn't perpetual struggle. It's to reach a state where the desired action feels less forced and more like flow. How does this shift happen? As consistent action shapes your character, your desires may slowly begin to align with the habit. You might start exercising because you should, but eventually, you might exercise because you genuinely enjoy the feeling of strength or the mental clarity it brings. The action becomes intrinsically rewarding. Aristotle spoke of virtue becoming pleasant to the virtuous person. A courageous person doesn't always feel fearless, but acting courageously becomes aligned with their sense of self, making it the right and ultimately more satisfying choice. Similarly, a well-established habit starts to feel right. Skipping it might feel off. This means the secret formula involves patience. You are not just installing software, a habit. You are cultivating a garden, your character. It takes time for roots to deepen, for the plant to flourish and bear fruit naturally. Trust the process of growth, fueled by consistent tending action. Therefore, when you feel resistance, acknowledge it, but don't mistake it for a permanent state. See it as the friction of change. Gently persist with the small action. Remind yourself that you are not just doing something, you are becoming someone. This reframes the effort from a chore into an act of self-creation. The aim is not superhuman willpower, but ingrained disposition. You want the habit to become so embedded in your character that it feels like the path of least resistance. This doesn't mean it's always easy, but it means the internal alignment shifts. The unstoppable quality comes from this deep integration, not from external force. So the third insight from our Aristotelian lens is this. Consistent action gradually shifts internal alignment, reducing the need for brute force. The habit becomes less of an external imposition and more of an internal expression. It moves from have to towards want to, or at least, this is who I am. Let's deepen this connection between action and identity. Why do we pursue certain habits? Often, it's not just for the practical benefit, e.g., health from exercise, knowledge from reading, but because these habits represent qualities we admire or aspire to possess: discipline, wisdom, creativity, resilience. Aristotle's ethics are deeply concerned with virtue, excellence of character. He believed that living a good life, eudaimonia, involves cultivating these virtues. Habits, therefore, are not just about self-improvement hacks. They are the very practice ground for developing a virtuous character. Each habit can be an expression of a chosen virtue. When you frame your desired habit in terms of the virtue it represents, it gains deeper meaning. Exercising isn't just about fitness, it's practicing temperance and discipline. Studying isn't just about knowledge, it's cultivating wisdom. Tidying your space isn't just cleaning, it's fostering order and diligence. This elevates the motivation. This intrinsic motivation, rooted in identity and values, is far more sustainable than relying solely on external rewards or punishments. When you see the habit as practicing who you want to be, the drive comes from within. You are not just checking a box, you are embodying an ideal. So ask yourself, what virtue does this habit I want to build represent? What kind of person am I becoming by performing this action consistently? Connecting the dots between the small daily act and the larger vision of your desired character provides a powerful, enduring why. This why fuels persistence when challenges arise. This Aristotelian perspective transforms habit formation from a mundane task into a meaningful journey of character development. The secret formula isn't just about behavior modification. It's about intentional self-creation through repeated, virtuous action. Each step shapes you. Each habit builds the edifice of your character. Now, let's bring this wisdom into the realm of practical application. How can you use this understanding today to build those unstoppable habits? The core insight isn't a complex technique, but a profound shift in focus. It begins with clarity about the action and the identity. First, identify the smallest possible version of the action related to your desired habit. Not go to the gym for an hour, but put on your gym clothes. Not write 1,000 words, but open your document and write one sentence. Make the barrier to starting incredibly low. Remember, consistency trumps intensity initially. Second, focus entirely on performing that minimal action. Don't worry about motivation or inspiration or how you feel. Don't even worry about the outcome for now. Just execute the tiny action. The goal is simply to show up and cast that vote for your desired identity. Make doing the victory. Third, consciously link this action to the identity you are cultivating. As you perform the small act, remind yourself, by doing this, I am being the kind of person you want to be, disciplined, healthy, creative, calm. This reinforces the connection and deepens the meaning beyond the simple task. For example, if you want to build a reading habit, the minimal action might be read one paragraph. As you do it, think, I am being a knowledgeable person, or I am investing in my understanding. This isn't about delusion, it's about directing your focus towards the identity that the action supports. Crucially, detach from the immediate results or feelings. Some days the action will feel good, other days it will feel like a chore. The Aristotelian approach suggests this doesn't matter as much as the act itself. Character is built through the practice, regardless of the day's emotional weather. Focus on the process, not the fleeting feeling. Track your consistency, not necessarily the magnitude of the result. Celebrate the fact that you did the action. This shifts the reward mechanism from external outcomes, which can be slow, to the internal satisfaction of having acted in alignment with your chosen identity. You are rewarding the behavior, strengthening the loop. If you miss a day, treat it as Aristotle might suggest. Observe it, note it without harsh judgment, and simply return to the minimal action the next day. One misstep doesn't ruin the path you're forging. Condemnation kills momentum. Gentle resumption builds it. The goal is progress, not perfection. This approach, small action, identity focus, consistency over intensity, process over feeling, gentle resumption, is the practical application of the secret formula. It's not a complex system, but a way of orienting yourself towards habit formation that aligns with a deeper understanding of human nature. It's simple, profound, and actionable. Imagine applying this to a habit you've struggled with. Instead of demanding an hour of focused work, what if you committed to just opening the relevant file and writing one sentence? And as you do, you affirm, "I am being productive." Could that feel more achievable, less daunting? Consider wanting to exercise more. Instead of forcing a grueling workout, what if the habit was simply change into workout clothes and do 5 minutes of stretching? And while stretching, you think, "I am caring for my body." Could that small, consistent action build a foundation where longer workouts eventually feel more natural? This isn't about lowering your ambitions. It's about building a sustainable ramp towards them. Unstoppable habits are rarely built overnight through sheer force. They grow organically from small seeds, consistently watered by action, nurtured by an identity-focused mindset. The Aristotelian way is patient, steady, and deeply human. So the secret isn't a hidden trick. It's the profound understanding that we shape ourselves through our actions. Character isn't fixed, it's cultivated. Habits aren't tasks to be endured, they are the tools we use to sculpt our being. This perspective shifts everything. By focusing on small, consistent actions linked to a desired identity, you bypass the exhaustion of willpower-dependent approaches. You work with human nature, not against it. You leverage the power of repetition to make the desired behavior feel increasingly congruent with who you are. This is how habits become unstoppable, not because they are forced, but because they become woven into the fabric of your character. Skipping the habit eventually feels more difficult than doing it, because it goes against the grain of the person you have become through practice. Let's synthesize this wisdom. The journey to unstoppable habits, illuminated by Aristotle's insights, isn't about finding more strength, but about finding a wiser approach. It hinges on understanding the deep connection between what we repeatedly do and who we ultimately become. Action shapes character. The formula, if we can call it that, is elegantly simple. Character is the product of action multiplied by consistency. Small, deliberate actions, repeated relentlessly over time, forge the pathways in our minds and hearts that make desired behaviors feel natural, inevitable, even enjoyable. So release the pressure of needing immediate, massive change. Embrace the power of the small, the consistent, the identity-focused action. Trust that each repetition is sculpting you, gradually aligning your actions with your aspirations, making the positive habit an authentic expression of who you are. This understanding offers not just a method, but a sense of calm and empowerment. You hold the tools of your own transformation in your hands, not through Herculean effort, but through mindful, consistent practice. The path to unstoppable habits is the path of becoming. Reflect on one habit you wish to build. What is the smallest possible action you can take consistently? What identity does this action support? Can you commit to this tiny step today, focusing on the doing as an act of becoming? Remember, the wisdom isn't in knowing this, but in applying it. Start small. Stay consistent. Focus on the becoming. Allow Aristotle's ancient insight to guide you towards habits that don't just change your behavior, but enrich your character and ultimately your life. The power lies in the practice. The feeling of being stuck with habits often comes from fighting ourselves. We try to impose change through force. Aristotle's view suggests aligning with ourselves instead. By choosing actions that represent who we want to be and repeating them, we gently steer our own nature towards that ideal. Consider the flow state musicians or artisans achieve. It comes after countless hours of practice. The skill becomes so ingrained it feels effortless, an extension of themselves. Unstoppable habits aim for a similar integration, where the action flows naturally from the person you have cultivated yourself to be. This doesn't mean you'll never face resistance. Even ingrained habits require attention, but the nature of the effort changes. It shifts from battling yourself to simply maintaining a path already well established. It's the difference between trailblazing and walking a familiar, comfortable road. Let's revisit the idea of votes. Each tiny action is a micro-affirmation of your desired identity. Picture a scale. One side is your old patterns, the other is the identity you're building. Every consistent action adds a small weight to the new side, gradually tipping the balance in your favor. This mental model can be incredibly motivating. When you feel tired or uninspired, remember that even the smallest execution of your chosen habit is another weight on the scale, another vote cast. It keeps the momentum going, even if it's just a trickle. Trickles, over time, fill reservoirs. The beauty of this Aristotelian approach is its inherent respect for the process. It acknowledges that meaningful change is gradual, built brick by brick through persistent effort. It replaces the anxiety of instant transformation with the quiet dignity of steady, intentional becoming. Think of your habits not as chains you must drag, but as pathways you are paving. Each consistent action lays another stone, making the journey smoother, more defined, and ultimately leading towards the destination you've envisioned for yourself, the person you aspire to be. What feels like a secret is often just a fundamental truth we've forgotten or overlooked in our search for quick fixes. Aristotle reminds us, character is destiny, and character is built through habit. Master your actions consistently and intentionally, and you master the art of becoming. Don't underestimate the power of linking even mundane habits to higher values. Making your bed. It can be practiced for orderliness and starting the day with intention. Flossing. An act of self-care and discipline. Finding the virtue within the routine elevates it from chore to character building. This connection fuels the why behind the what. When the why is strong, rooted in identity and virtue, the how, dealing with difficulty, finding time, becomes easier to navigate. Your actions have purpose beyond the immediate task. They serve your growth. Imagine looking back a year from now. Will you see scattered attempts, remnants of forced willpower? Or will you see the steady, cumulative result of small, consistent actions that have reshaped not just your routines, but your very sense of self? The choice lies in the approach you adopt today. The Aristotelian path isn't necessarily easy, but it is profoundly effective because it aligns with how we are actually built. It leverages the brain's capacity for habituation and our innate desire for coherence between our actions and our identity. It works with the grain of human nature. So when you next feel the urge to overhaul your life with a dozen new habits forced by sheer will, pause. Remember Aristotle. Choose one small action. Link it to your desired identity. Focus on consistency above all else. Let the action shape you day by day. This shift in perspective is the core of the unstoppable quality. Habits become unstoppable not because you have infinite willpower, but because they become you. The action and the identity merge through the alchemy of consistent practice. That is the enduring wisdom offered here. Consider the feeling of mastery. It arises when something difficult becomes second nature through practice. This principle applies just as much to habits of character, patience, discipline, kindness, as it does to external skills. We practice them into existence through our daily actions. Every time you choose the small, identity-aligned action over inaction or an old pattern, you are exercising your capacity for intentional self-direction. You are not just building a habit, you are strengthening your ability to live deliberately, guided by your chosen values. This approach fosters self-compassion. Instead of berating yourself for failures in willpower, you can acknowledge the difficulty of change while gently guiding yourself back to the minimal effective action. It's a kinder, more sustainable path to growth, rooted in understanding rather than judgment. The power lies in this subtle, internal shift, viewing habits not as tasks imposed upon you, but as choices you make to become the person you wish to be. This internal locus of control, combined with consistent action, is the bedrock of lasting change. Revisit the title, The Secret Formula for Unstoppable Habits. The formula is Consistent action x identity alignment equals character transformation. The secret is that it's not about force, but about becoming. The unstoppable quality arises when the habit is no longer separate from you, but an expression of you. Aristotle didn't offer shortcuts, but he offered depth. He showed that the path to excellence in any domain, including our own character, is paved with deliberate, repeated actions. What we practice, we become. Choose your practice wisely. So begin today, not with a grand overhaul, but with a single, tiny step aligned with the person you aspire to be. Perform it. Acknowledge it as a vote for that identity. Repeat tomorrow. Trust the quiet, profound power of consistent action shaping character. That is the timeless key to unstoppable habits. Remember the musician analogy. Daily scales build dexterity. Likewise, daily small actions build character strengths. Don't despise the simplicity of the practice. Recognize it as the fundamental building block of mastery, whether of an instrument or of oneself. The initial friction you feel when starting a new habit isn't failure. It's the resistance of an old form being reshaped. Like a sculptor chipping away marble, the process involves removing what is not the desired form to reveal what is. Persist gently. Embracing this Aristotelian view can alleviate the guilt associated with bad days. If character is built over time, one inconsistent day is merely a slight deviation, not a demolition. The key is returning to the practice, reinforcing the desired pattern, strengthening the identity vote. This perspective encourages a long-term view. We often overestimate what we can do in a day, but underestimate what we can achieve in a year through small, consistent efforts. Unstoppable habits are the result of this patient, cumulative process of becoming. The deepest motivation comes from acting in alignment with our values and desired identity. When a habit becomes an expression of who I am, or who I am becoming, it taps into a source of energy far more reliable than fleeting willpower or external rewards. So the invitation is to shift your focus. Instead of wrestling with willpower, focus on clarifying the identity you want to embody. Then, identify the smallest consistent action that represents that identity. Execute that action. Repeat. Let the becoming unfold. This approach, derived from Aristotle's wisdom, offers a path not just to better habits, but to a more integrated, intentional, and flourishing life. By consciously shaping our actions, we consciously shape ourselves. That is the profound power available to each of us, starting now. The journey of building unstoppable habits is, in essence, the journey of self-mastery, not through force, but through understanding and alignment. It's about becoming the kind of person for whom the desired actions are simply the natural expression of their character. Let this ancient wisdom settle. The secret formula wasn't hidden in a complex equation, but in a simple, profound truth about human nature. We become what we repeatedly do. Let your actions today be intentional steps towards the person you aspire to be tomorrow.